y'all. It's the Southern Woods here, and this is my new podcast series called The Tale of the Hunt. As per usual, I'm Alex, and I'll be the one speaking. There's a couple reasons why I decided to make a podcast about hunting. One is, I've always wanted to make a hunting video for my YouTube channel. I wanted that to be some usual content, but being that my channel's still small, I'm only one person, and the best technology I got is a tripod and an Android. It's just not really in the books. I do plan on making a hunting video at some point this season, but I decided podcast would just be better because I still like talking about hunting, sharing my experiences, and why not after each hunt get on, make a podcast, and people can listen to when they go to bed, when they're in the car, when they're bored, if they want to learn from my experiences, whatever. So that's why I'm making this podcast called Tale of the Hunt. This episode 1, I'll be talking about the season opener here in Georgia, September 12th. So y'all enjoy. So prior to the season opener, I've been really excited this off season. Been making spots, really prepping, keeping my trail cam out all the time because I wanted the best chances for this season. So I was really excited when season opener came. I invited my good buddy Tim with me. He came with me. Sorry about that. I invited him to hunt with me. So he said he'd hunt the morning. So the day sort of started out, woke up at 4 in the morning, took a shower, tried to get all the scent off. One thing about early season here in Georgia is it's really hot, and the mosquitoes especially are really bad for at least the first few weeks of early season. So scent control's a big deal. So took a shower, got ready. Called my buddy Tim up. Made sure that he was on his way and awake. Got all my hunting clothes together. Just the usual prepping and getting ready and stuff. For archery in early season, we use crossbows. Highly recommend using a crossbow because it's basically a gun with arrow and it's stealthy, quiet. It's not allowed in all states for archery, but here in Georgia it is. So that's our preferred weapon of choice. We all have Barnett's. I think Barnett's probably the best affordable crossbow brand out there. Sorry, just drinking some water. So we loaded up the car and we set out. Sunrise was set to be about 7:15. I think we got to the woods probably about 5:45 maybe. Where we hunt, it's core land, and where we archery hunt, it's core land, and it's surrounded by neighborhoods. Basically 3 neighborhoods on each side, and then the lake. So my neighborhood fortunately backs up to it. My family's been blessed with good hunting opportunities. So park the car at the in the cul-de-sac where the entrance to the woods are, and we get out. My brother set off his way, where he has a good spot in a tree stand. And then I directed Tim, and we started walking down the trails. When we were walking down the first trail, we scared a bunch of big birds, like just away. And we're like, whew, you know, walking in the woods in the dark in the early morning, there's something so unsettling that keeps you on your toes, I think, a little bit. It's especially when you're alone, but I wasn't alone. But whew, that got us awake. We kept on walking down the trail, and Tim has never been to the spot I cleared out this off season. It's like the main trail, and then I carved a small trail straight through the thicket of just a big patch of thick pines, small pines. So I had to find the trail I made in the dark, or at least find the first thumbtack, because I never went on the trail at night before. I wanted to prep and do that, but it just wasn't in the cards. So we found my small cut through trail, and we were walking down it, and then we scared another big group of birds. So we were a little bit on edge probably. But we get to the area where we were going to hunt, and how I had it set up is when you get there, it's a hill, not a big hill, but it's a hill. It goes down, and I cleared out a fairly big area, about the size of someone's living room. Down below, I mean, there's a few trees within the cleared area, like some bigger trees, but there's that. Where I placed them behind the big hardwood, so he had a clear shot down into the opening. I went down, and then I took a right to where I made another shooting lane, and I had creek on my right, bushes to the back of me, and bushes to the left of me, so I was pretty covered. But how I wanted it to go is most of the deer were coming from the left of the clearing that I made. So left of where Tim was. That's what I could tell from the trail cam footage that I had out this off season, which I know it don't mean too much, especially once bachelor groups and the deer start getting to their fall pattern, because whatever you saw in the off season, like their patterns usually change. But that I thought maybe we'd catch them while they're still on their summer pattern, since it's still hot and opener. So I had a strong feeling the deer were going to come in from the left. If any of them came in and were looking in my direction and were froze, Tim would have a broadside shot. But if the deer instead were facing Tim, looking at Tim, I would have a broadside shot. So I tried to have it to where if they stepped in the opening, no matter which way, one of us would have a good shot. So that was sort of my ideology on this hunt. And we get down, we sit down in the dark, and I guess I should note the weather. All week it said that there was chances of scattered thunderstorms throughout the day. When we got down there, I mean, it was fairly cool compared to the past few days. I mean, it's probably still in the mid upper 70s that early in the morning, which is still very hot. Like, we were already sweating profusely by the time you get down there. That's sort of how it goes early season around here. There was no wind at all. That was probably the weirdest thing. This whole weekend, really, there hasn't been any wind. It's been very still, very quiet. You could hear anything. So, not much wind at all. Chances of thunderstorms, fairly warm, but not super hot. So that's sort of what the weather was like. And I think it played into a huge part of how the deer been acting this weekend. So I sit down, Tim sits down, we get set up. Basically, there's a huge pine tree in between me and him, but we're probably about like 100 feet away from each other or so. He's on the hill, obviously. I'm on the ground, so we could see each other. if the pine tree wasn't in the middle of us. So I'm sitting down in the dark, and you ever hear the sound like when someone puts a bottle underwater, sort of that glug 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 glug? I heard that coming from the creek right to the right of me, and I don't know why, but it put me on such edge because, like, what's making that noise? Is someone down there filling up a water jug? I don't know what could really make that glug 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 glug. So that had me kind of weirded out. And then there's something about sitting there in the dark, early morning. You just shadows and stuff. Like your mind plays tricks on itself so much. It thinks it hears things. It thinks it sees things, and that's one of the biggest things about early morning hunting to me. It's just like getting through that little paranoia in the beginning. But again, I was with a hunting partner, so it wasn't that bad for me. Then Tim texted me. I hear something behind me. I said, oh. I texted back, stay still. and that was that. But then I sort of, turned left behind me a little bit, and I started hearing something walking towards me. Now, I knew it wasn't too big, but still, when you hear something creeping towards you, you're like, So I'm just sort of hearing it get closer and closer, and it comes up on me, and it's this big possum. I was like, oh, don't get any closer, buddy. So I did a little jolt, back off, and that thing, I guess, noticed me finally, and it was like, oh, shit. And it ran back where it came from. Other than that, nothing really happened when it was dark, but it started getting light out, and two squirrels were fighting in a tree, and one chucked the other off the tree, and it smacked the ground, so that was exciting. But other than that, just the morning was so quiet, so still. Just nothing was going on. Tim ended up falling asleep for a little bit until an ant bit him. And surprisingly, I was expecting super hot and super bad mosquitoes. At first, the mosquitoes were bad, but once I put gloves on my hands and every part of me was covered for the most part, they weren't too bad. So we were both pretty comfortable for the most part. Conditions seemed right, just not super windy, wasn't raining, wasn't super hot, but we just weren't seeing anything. And then Tim had a sneezing attack. I thought he kept on hiccuping. He said he was sneezing. I was like, dang. I texted my brother. He said he wasn't seeing anything, except that when he walked in, he thought he spooked a couple deer. He said, actually, something creepy that happened to him was when he was walking down. He was using his red light, and he just sees two big glowing eyes, fairly tall, off the ground, just staring at him, and then looking left, back to him, right, left to him. He said it's kind of creepy, and then it just disappeared without a trace, without a sound. That's the thing about walking to your hunting spot in the morning like that. It's just, I don't know, puts you on edge a little bit. So we hunted till about 12:30. Just didn't see anything, no signs. Heard some owls, but no sign of deer. So that was so we all decided we'd head back for lunch, and we went back and ate sandwiches and stuff. And then Tim said he had to go, so it was time for a solo hunt for me in the afternoon. I didn't want to go to the same spot given how dead it seemed. So when set off again, first I smoked my clothes a little bit, because at least around here, since all the deer are surrounded by neighborhoods, they're used to the smell of smoke and things burning. So we've noticed that they don't really get spooked too much by that scent. and it's also a bonus because it gets the mosquitoes away from you a little bit. They don't like the smell of smoke. And I'd been sweating a little bit, so I just wanted to cover up any human scent that I could. So we set off. Anthony went back to his spot. I went to where we were, cut left, followed the deer trail down, crossed the creek, and then decided I was going to go sneak to another spot I carved out in the off season just a few weeks before season started. Had a bunch of oaks around it, muscadimes, acorns were bound to fall if they haven't already started falling. I thought it'd be a good spot. That deer would stop by in the evening and eat something. And there was, what I could tell, bedding somewhat close by. So I'm sneaking through real quiet like, and to get to where I cut the trail from where I was, there's just a big fallen log that I just sort of walk on. See, like every step on the log though, something would spook. Or something make a noise. Not a deer, just like other animals, a squirrel, a bird, anything like that. But I was real cautious, and I get back to where I want to be, and it's the same sort of idea. A tinier hill behind a fairly large tree. Had some brush piled up all around me to sort of help cover me up angle wise, like if something walked in front of me. And my shooting lane was just about a living room sized area with some trees in the middle, but fairly open. Good shot. Another thing I've been trying to do is just every 30 minutes do a couple social grunts, see if anything comes. But I don't think anything has responded or came close to me from that. So I sit down and then I hear ring, ring, ring. I'm like, what? And I look behind me. I don't know how I didn't notice this when I was clearing the spot out, but a massive, just dead oak tree. Super tall, squeaky limbs, a death hazard. But I already got settled down, so I was like, okay, there's no wind anyway. Hopefully this tree doesn't fall. I think I'll be alright. So I'm sitting there, the tree squeaking behind me. There's some wildlife moving around, but for the most part, it was still so still, like you could hear a heartbeat. Every once in a while, there'd be a little gust of wind, a little bit of sprinkle, and then it'd get sunny again, and it was just calm and still. It's like, all right. And then, like out of nowhere, it just started showering rain. Looked on the weather, said it wasn't going to. It just showering rain. But I figured, it would pass by fairly quickly, and it did. It only lasted about 10, more like 15 minutes. But I was sitting there, try to cover up all my stuff, put my boonie over my other hat, try to stay as dry as possible, even though I got a little bit wet. But I was just sitting there, and I look to the left of me. No, to the left of me, you can't really see anything. It's very thick up, but there's, enough of a little lane, just a natural shooting lane, where you could see maybe 150 feet down to the left. And I look, and about 40 feet away from me, there's a doe bedded down, just staring right at me. I was like, oh, well, hello. We're both in the rain, probably looking suicidal. And it's just staring at me. I'm staring at it, no big deal. I'm like, I can't really tell how big you are, but please stand up and, maybe we can work something out. And it does. It stands up a little bit after. Just sort of, I don't know, moving around, but not really walking at all. And it was a good sized doe. But the thing is, I didn't know how good of a shot I was going to be through that small shooting lane with a few little twigs in the middle here and there. It just wasn't a safe shot. I wasn't at a good angle. But we were still kind of staring at each other. I was trying to stay calm. Yeah, I didn't think I was moving around too much. It was raining kind of heavy still. I didn't think I was making any noise. But one bad thing, what little wind of a breeze there was, it was going right in her direction, and I knew it. And she must have finally caught just a weird whiff that she didn't like, and she snort wheezed and ran off. So that was that. I was like, oh man, but it gave me hope. I was like, well, where there's one, there may be others somewhere. And it was just one, so it's not like it spooked a whole group of deer. So I was confident that I could maybe see something again. And then it cleared up a little bit. I was just sort of waiting. And it'd been clear for about half an hour, and then my girlfriend texted me. She said, "Are you alright? It's pouring rain over here." I said, "I'm fine right now, it's pretty dry." Or, like, everything's good. She said, "Alright." And then I stood up to stretch. I was looking around, and then, not directly behind me, but where that doe ran off to, I heard the doe start blowing again and running even further. And I don't know if it saw me or if something else spooked it, because there's a neighborhood probably about 400 yards or so behind where I was. Not too far at all. And I could hear people shooting guns fairly close by from where I was a good bit of my hunt. So I sit back down, still not that discouraged. If anything, hopeful, because I'd finally seen a deer. And all of a sudden, I hear thunder, not too worried about it. Looked at the radar. Any storms that were going to happen were not going to be over me. That's what the Weather Channel said. I should know from my 18, almost 19 years of living that you can't trust what the weatherman says, and you can't trust what the weather app says. Weather is going to do its own damn thing. Excuse me as I sip my water again. So, I hear that. I'm not too worried about it. I hear thunder in the distance, not too worried about it. All of a sudden, it's like Poseidon and Zeus decide to have a damn good time and let the heavens rip the fuck open. It started torrential downpouring on me. And, well, actually, I skipped an important detail. A few minutes before that happened, I decided I was going to walk to the right of where I was and see if I could spook anything or catch anything slipping. Because I was a little wet, I wanted to dry off, walk around a little bit. So note that this happens while I'm walking around. Now where I'm walking, I'm not too familiar with the area. And when it started thundering and lightning and tsunamiing and I hear gunshots, I start panicking a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Because I can't see more than 15 feet in front of me. It seemed like I couldn't hear a thing except gunshots, thunder, and rain. So I was lost. I was getting rained on. I was a little bit worried. So I start sort of jogging around, and then just the rain is just pouring harder and harder. I'm getting soaked, and I realize, shit, everything in my bag's probably getting soaked. I'm soaked to the bone. My phone's probably getting soaked in my pocket, but I can't see where I am, or else, my phone's definitely gonna get ruined. So I'm freaking out now. I'm running around. I have a freaking hunting mask over my mouth still. I have gum in my mouth. freaking dry heaving on the damn mask, trying not to choke on my gum, tripping everywhere, not know where I'm going. So I was a little bit worried. I really felt I've never been to Vietnam. I've never been in the Vietnam War, obviously, but I assume that's sort of what it felt like running through Vietnam in the rain. So I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, lost, not where I'm going, tripping, trying not to damage my crossbow, not keeping my composure like I should have. And I finally found a creek, crossed it, still don't know where I was, found a wide enough game trail that I could just sort of sprint along. And I'm telling you, this was probably going on like 15 minutes until I finally found a trail I was familiar with. So I'm taking that the whole way to my car. I get to where my keys are, where I hid them. I didn't think I found them. I thought I looked in the right hole. My keys were not there. And then I thought, okay, alright, my brother's in the car. Brother wasn't in the car, couldn't find my keys. I just thought, oh shit. He got struck by lightning. He's probably fried chicken on the bottom of his tree stand. So I'm freaking out. I still can't get my phone out. It's torrential downpouring. I look again. I find my keys. I'm like, well, great. My keys aren't going to work, or the button won't work because, it's soaked, but it worked. And then, thankfully, my brother starts sprinting like he's in Vietnam to the car, and we get in there, and I'm just in shock. I'm like, and Anthony's telling me how he thought he was going to die. His lightning struck him all around him in the tree stand. So we drove back home and took off our sopping wet clothes and sort of rinsed them and put them in the washing machine again, and that was that hunt. And I think the deer knew at some point it was probably just going to pop up shower or something. I think they sort of knew something like that was going to go on, and that's why we didn't see anything really the whole day. My brother didn't really see anything the whole day. So that's what we sort of chalked it up to be. The only deer any of us saw was when I saw the one decide that she was going to bed down 40 feet away from me. So, yeah, that was an opening day hunt right there the whole day. And I still have a good bit of time. I haven't hit the 30-minute mark, so I'll talk about my hunt today, September 13th here in Georgia. So, I woke up today knowing that it was going to be a short hunt. We were only going to hunt till about 10 o'clock in the morning because it's a Sunday. I work tomorrow. My dad works tomorrow. I also got college tomorrow. And football started at 1. So, we're like, if we get anything before 10, great. We could have enough time to get field dressed. May start doing our own processing of it. But if we don't get anything, that's good too. We won't miss the game. Anything after 10 though, not gonna happen. We're going home. But I woke up feeling good. Anthony again was gonna hunt somewhere, so we both got ready. I was a little slower getting ready today, but got everything ready. Packed up the car, went, and he went on his merry way. The first time walking to your spot alone in the season's kind of trippy. As I said, I don't get spooked too often. I usually like getting spooked, but when it comes to being in the wilderness alone, sort of different. So I loaded up my crossbow, put an arrow in it in the dark. Had on safety though, but I wasn't taking any chances. And again, there was like no breeze this morning, and it was humid, and the air was so thick. I have a decent light, but I couldn't see too far ahead of me. The air was just so thick. I started walking, and I'm walking down this long, narrow trail that goes downhill. Fairly spooky trail to walk down on. And I don't know why, but I was like, I'm gonna look behind me. I looked behind me, and I just hear something just bolt, but luckily it bolted upward. It ended up being a bird, but I thought it was going to be something bolting for me right once I turned around. So I started sweating a lot more, and was a lot more nervous after that. But I get to this new area that I was going to hunt. Not new, but my process is I have about four areas I hunt down there, or around here, and I try to switch it up every single time. One, so I'm not putting much pressure at all on one specific spot, and two, so hunting stays fresh and I'm not getting bored with the same old scenery. So that's sort of my process when I hunt. Same thing at the hunting club we go to. I have like four or five spots that I like, that I try to rotate throughout the season. So I get down here, and it's where I shot my only deer ever, a doe, back 3 years ago. And basically what it is, it's a creek, wide open area. To the right, before you cross the creek, there's a big hill that I usually sit on that overlooks everything. To the left is just thick water, and then another part of the creek. If you cross the creek, you can go straight onto a trail. You can go left onto a trail that crosses the creek again, because it kind of turns and twists around. And the right is just a bunch of thick stuff. The vegetation really took over this year, and it was a lot more vegetative and green than I thought it'd be. And so I couldn't really shoot from my hill because there was no shot from the hill. So I had to just choose a spot sort of in the thick air in the dark, and I couldn't really see. So I finally just plopped down my back to a huge bush, left of me a huge bush, taller than me, and to the right of me sort of a huge dead tree leaning on a live tree. So it's something I could sort of prop up against, or like lean against to my right, or put my bag against, and something to have a hard time seeing me from the right, at least. And in front of me was a fairly open area, and then to the left was the creek crossing if I leaned in a little bit. So that's where I was, and a little bit after sitting down, I just hear like a loud crash from behind me, so that got me spooked for a minute. We got there a lot earlier this morning, so there was a lot more time of darkness. But eventually I settled in. I was doing good. It was a lot cooler today overall. There wasn't any sun. It was overcast. But oh my goodness, the mosquitoes and the bugs were very bad today. I was getting tore up for a good bit of it. But the sun came up. I tried doing some social grunts, nothing responding. It was pretty dead. Yeah, I was just trying to pay attention. I looked to my left, and I noticed a huge spider web and a massive spider right there near me. I was like, wonderful. I didn't know you were there. And I looked close to my leg. There's another big spider web and another big spider right near my leg. And I was like, well, I'm killing you, the one near my leg. So I get my arrow out of my crossbow, pretty sharp straight edge, and I smack the spider, and it like flies away. I said, alright. And I destroyed a quarter of the web too in the process of doing that. I thought it either died or would run away. Not even 5 minutes later, the thing's back on the web, looking pissed off, looking at me like I try to kill him or something. So he was pissed off. I knew that was bad. So I smacked him 10 times harder with that blade, and he never came back. And I went ahead and destroyed his web like a douchebag. The other spider, though, I know he saw me probably murder his friend or enemy. It could have been his enemy. But I was like, you know what? You're not as close to me. Maybe you can knock off some mosquitoes, murder them for me. As long as you stay put in your web, we're cool. I won't hurt you. And we were buddies this hunting trip. But I waited. I called every 30-ish minutes. Nothing was going on. No sign of deer anywhere. And about an hour before calling it quits. I decided I was gonna just walk around, try a still hunt. I went one way, didn't really lead me anywhere good. So I decided I'd go just down some narrow game trails, see if it'll lead me anywhere. I at least wanted to spook something, pardon me as I yawn. Another thing, I like to sit on like a trifold chair while I'm hunting. But carrying it over your shoulder or around your neck while you're trying to walk around and hunt is never fun. But man, I walked forever through everything, thinking I'd at least spook a deer, but I never did. And then I fell into a mud puddle. But I kept my crossbow safe. So that was sort of this weekend, an opening weekend hunt. Yeah, it was a little bit less hot than I expected. The mosquitoes were about as bad as I expected overall. But only one deer was seen. My brother didn't see a deer today either. So we don't really know what's going on. I suspect that either they're hanging around hugging the neighborhood edges a lot more this early season, or they're by the lake bed. Which I haven't hunted by the lake yet. So not too sure. Waiting on the deer to change their patterns. Hopefully, once he gets closer to pre-rut, I can make things happen with the call. Do a little mock scrape and get some scents out there. But yeah, this opening weekend, thunderstorms, tsunamis, quiet air, just an interesting environment, interesting hunt. Not much went on. So yeah, I just not too sure how I feel about this weekend. I mean, it was so good to get out there and finally hunt after so long, so I'm happy about that. But if any of y'all went hunting opening weekend, tell me how it went in the comments section. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this new podcast series, Tale of the Hunt. Hopefully there will be some more exciting ones. Like if I actually get one this year, I can have a Tale of the Hunt where I actually succeed in the hunt. But I'm going to wrap this up here pretty soon. It's reaching the 40-minute mark. I'd like all my podcasts to at least be 20 minutes, so I hope y'all enjoyed. If you want another podcast, definitely let me know. If this video gets 5 likes, I'll do another podcast. Come on, there's 88 of y'all. If 5 of y'all want it, hit that like button. Maybe I'll do another one. I plan on it, but we'll just see if I can get the 5 likes. Probably won't go hunting again until the weekend of September. Well, probably the last weekend of September. So, a couple weeks away. Hopefully it'll cool down a little bit. The bugs won't be as bad, and we'll have more of a shot of seeing things. We'll probably be at the hunting club though that weekend instead. So, hopefully our chances will increase. But this has been the Southern Woods, and this has been the Tale of the Hunt, episode 1. Hope y'all enjoyed. Have a good, productive, wonderful day, evening, night, whatever it may be. The Southern Woods out.